want to show you this. And as we begin our conversation, take a while to look at this. It's brand new this morning. At these times of national mourning, so often we look to editorial cartoons to capture the national mood. And Michael Deatter has been doing it beautifully for a very long time. And he has done it again with this. Brand new, one of two that we're going to talk about with him because he's my guest this morning. Michael, good morning, and thank you for showing us this and sharing us this, as usual, a beautiful, heart-tugging piece.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm always sad to see you because it's often under very unfortunate circumstances, but they're always such important conversations. I remember you telling me in the past when you're trying to create a piece to capture a tragic event like we're seeing in Nova Scotia, you really have to, many things go through your mind at that time. So tell us about the thought process this time that led to your landing on that idea.
Oh, I'm not even sure where the ideas come from. They just sort of come. I remember seeing a sculpture of shoes at a dock in Europe, and it kind of stuck with me forever. And that's just where it came from. I was trying to do something that wasn't like stuff I'd done before, you know.
You know, it's interesting, at the Dartmouth detachment, Constable Stevenson's boots are there, so that's really a central part of the memorial.
Yeah, that was a weird. Yeah, I saw that this morning. I didn't even realize that that was a thing, and here I have that same image in my cartoon today. So
with those of the other
that's
victims
another
as well.
Strange coincidence.
It is,
yeah.
and I want to talk about some of those. Can we just show the other tribute that you paid to Constable Stevenson prior? One of the RCMP beautiful horses. Let's look at this. This from yesterday, and again, tell me a little bit more about this particular one, Michael.
Well, I had done. I didn't know what I was going to do either time. You just sort of make these things up as you go, and you try to do something. I had done 3 horses for the Moncton shooting a few years ago, and I decided that doing one sole horse would probably capture the moment. Okay, so that's really where it came from. That I had done the 3 horses all standing behind each other once before, and this is sort of like a part 2 to that, I guess.
But when you say you don't know exactly where it comes from and it just comes out, I mean, that's been shared thousands of times, liked thousands of times on social media. How do you know that it's going to strike a chord like that you have got it when you do get it?
I don't know till the next morning. I panic. I think I don't have it. Like, even with the shoe one today, I wasn't certain until I woke up this morning and looked at it and posted it online and saw people were liking it. That it wasn't until that moment that I realized I had captured something. So you just never know. It's on these tragic days, you just don't know what will resonate and what will not resonate. I mean, I know it seems like I know what I'm doing, but it's really sausage making.
But, you know, when we've had conversations in the past, and maybe we can pull up some of your previous cartoons from terrible times, you mentioned Moncton, and then there were the Fredericton police shootings where you brought Moncton and Fredericton together in one cartoon, and then there was the Toronto van attack, and you linked that to the Humboldt bus crash and the shared mourning there. And I know you said tragic days like those, like the moment that we're living now, you have to capture something that is completely sobering. So you really do have to think on what the country is experiencing, don't you? And really try to capture that.
Yeah. I'm trying to capture it, sure. But every one of those cartoons that you described went right to the last minute. I didn't know if I had it. I had second doubts. You know, I'm an artist through and through. I just feel racked with self-doubt. I'm not sure if I'm going to capture things correctly or not. And those were, I consider every one of those days that I drew, every one of those cartoons you described as difficult days, coming up with the concept. And, you know, it's a lot of work. I mean, any cartoonist will tell you that it's hard to describe coming up with an idea. It's, you know, one of those classic questions we always get is, where do you get your ideas? Mm-hmm. And I don't know many cartoonists that really know the answer to that question. They just come from
the
someplace. You're just trying to
feelings.
capture what everybody's thinking. Yeah,
Yes.
it comes from emotion.
And they emerge. In this case, your emotion, I don't know if it's complicated, but it may be affected by the fact that you mentioned the unusual coincidences. In this particular case, you have connections, not deep, but connections to 3 of the people involved in this. Can you share that particular story and how it might be affecting how you process all of this?
Well, yeah, the shooter went to Riverview High School. I'm a graduate of Riverview High School. I graduated a year before he did. And I know people that know him quite well. And I've had conversations I went to Riverview High School in Riverview, New Brunswick is a small school with a small graduating class. So I've had conversations with him. And now I don't remember a single conversation because he was just a guy around the school like most people around your high school. But I also, strangely enough, I also had a connection to Heidi Stevenson. I used to work with her at a restaurant in downtown Halifax when she was Heidi Burkholder. And that's the constable that was unfortunately killed. And added
Lisa
to
McCullough,
that,
the teacher?
I went to university with her. So, and I knew her when she was Lisa Kirsten. So I was beginning to know I was going to know everybody in this tragic,
Yes. So it's individual for you at the same time as it's a national moment. What do you think this moment is for the country, Michael?
Oh, I think, I don't know, when you add it to COVID, it really is a pile-on, isn't it? It's I don't know what it is for the country, but for me, I got kind of down last night, I got to admit. I mean, I have connections to a few of the people, so I mean, that obviously doesn't help. But when you add it to, we've been in isolation for 4 or 5 weeks, and I saw someone say on the National last night that Nova Scotia is a casserole province, meaning that when tragedy happens, people make casseroles and they come together. And I saw some, if anything happens in this neighborhood, you're just bombarded by people with coming over, seeing how you're doing, bringing food over. And, that's our way of dealing with tragedy. And now with COVID, we've got to self-isolate. So our normal Nova Scotia kindness or our way of dealing with tragedy is being hampered by the fact that we're all self-isolating at the same time.
Makes it even more difficult, although thankfully with technology, at least there are these virtual vigils that we're seeing already, and I know a big one coming up later in the week. Michael, as always, I appreciate our time with you, and thank you for showing us your drawings, and I suspect there'll be more to come as this memorial continues and as the story continues, and we'll look forward to seeing those as you create them. Thank you, Michael Datter.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You see there the tribute to Constable Stevenson and to the at least 18 victims, as is shared on social media this morning.